Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. First thing I want to say is that I am so glad to know that it's 10 to 2 in the afternoon, so I'm so hard to know I have another 6.5 hours to give my speech. Thank goodness. Note that, please, timer. When I was 20 years old, it was 1883. It feels like it was 1883. 1983. I landed in the airport in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Now I can hardly say it. They pronounce it Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I had my passport, my visa, my bags were packed like this. Even when I traveled for 4 days, my bags are packed like this. Got through customs, spoke to the airport officials, and what I heard come out of their mouths was the most beautiful language I'd ever heard. And I thought when I landed in LAX, I missed my connecting flight. I wasn't in Brazil, I was in some country that spoke French. I thought, what happened? Well, I was in the right place. And this beautiful sound rolling out of their mouths to me sounded like French. Well, the people in Rio are called cariocas, like the people in New York are called New Yorkers, and they have their own accent. And the way that they speak with that accent, Portuguese, sounds French. Tonight, I'm going to share with you the delicious blend of French, Italian, and Spanish. It sounds like I'm doing a coffee commercial. I should be paid for it. That is Brazilian Portuguese. The seductive symphony of sounds that blends together and is such a delight to the ear, and also why it's sort of a mysterious language too. So first, let's start with how French influences Portuguese. Now, all of these languages are similar in grammar and vocabulary. That I don't have time to get into, and I don't want everyone to go. However, the French influence are the nasalizations. Aren't there a lot of nasalizations in French? You're from the Ivory Coast, right?
Kind of.
Let's start with my visual cue, my hand. I talk with my hands, people think I'm Italian. Hand, in Portuguese, mão, mão. It sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? That's it, mão.
Visiting hours for adult services are over in 10 minutes. Thank you for your cooperation.
Muito obrigado. Thank you very much. You change one letter, it becomes mother, mãe, sister, irmã, brother, irmão. What am I standing on? Floor, chão. So when you mix these nasalizations together, as well as with diphthongs and triphthongs, you know what those are? Diphthongs are 2 vowel sounds that blend together. Triphthongs, 3 vowel sounds that blend together. It has a French sound to it. That's what hit me, and I thought, is this jet lag, or am I hearing this right? So I'm not saying it sounds exactly like French, but it has a beautiful French sort of intonation to it. So let's move on to the Italian influence. Brazilian Portuguese has words that you can just chew into, like a dog voraciously chewing into a meat sandwich. I grew up with a Labrador Retriever. I know how they can chew meat, believe me. Let's take this word. They know how to eat. So do I. However, this is the city that I actually lived in, which is south of Rio. Now, most people would look at this and pronounce this word Curitiba, which is not incorrect. The Spanish, the Portuguese would say Curitiba. In Brazilian Portuguese, Curitiba, Curitiba. The T followed by an I is a ch, ch. Curitiba is a what? It's a city. Cidade, cidade. In Portugal, they would say cidade. Any Portuguese people in here? Okay, I can say this. Portuguese people, they speak like they have pebbles in their mouth. My landlord, because I'm intoxicated, I'm like, what? But it's just a different, theirs is the pure language. Brazilian Portuguese is more popular. Did I say that? It's true. Using musical terminology. How many of you play a musical instrument or have? See, public speakers are also artists. I knew this. Using musical terminology, Spanish is more staccato. Da, 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 da. Like a typewriter, not typewriters, we don't have those anymore. Keyboard, smart, don't get me on smart. Typewriters. Da, 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 da. Brazilian Portuguese is more legato, like Italian. If I were to say I lived in the city of Curitiba in Spanish, I would say, eu vivi en la ciudad de Curitiba. In Portuguese, eu morei na cidade de Curitiba. Eu morei na cidade de Curitiba. It's more sing-songy, more legato. Moving on to Spanish. Have I made my point? It sounds like Italian, which makes it fun. It's an exciting language, and so are the people. I think the language reflects itself through the people. Spanish and Italian are Spanish and Portuguese are very similar in grammar, vocabulary, but the pronunciation is quite different. And some people say, well, if you speak one, you speak the other. Not true. I speak both fluently. And to be able to differentiate the two, you have to study them both very carefully. So they are two very different languages. And sometimes I had professors in Spanish who would say, no, that's Portuguese. Portuguese professors would say, no, that's Spanish. So there are a lot of influence, but they are two different languages. I mentioned the mystery of Portuguese. When I speak Portuguese in this country, no one knows what I'm speaking, unless they speak it too. People say, well, it sounds a little Spanish, but it's not a little French, but it's not quite French. So that's why it's fun to speak it, because no one knows what I'm talking about. I could be a spy. So I've talked a little bit about the beautiful blend of Italian, French, Portuguese. So when you travel, which I hope you all will, let your ears feast on the beautiful musicality of the language and enjoy it. Madam Toastmaster.